Hello, so this is a video that trying to explain what the poster mean for those of you who have seen the poster. So anyway, let's get started. So what is Marxism in general? Marxism is a theory developed by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels in the 19th century. And the theory itself is actually trying to explore the power disparity in society. Because at that time, capitalism, and even today, capitalism is only benefiting for those who are in the ruling class, the one who have the power and the resources. And Marxism is trying to expose, and in some way, not in some way, but the main goal is uh, to dispose of that. So it wants to share power equally to people. And in literary theory studies, Marxism is used to understand how ideology, history, and economy shape literature. Because, as you will often see in works, there is at least some socio-economic background in which it shape how the how the story, how the character works in that work. And the purpose of Marxism in general is actually trying to basically an equal distribution of power amongst people. It wants to it wants people to have the same level of power, so there is no ones who hold over or even those who hold less power than what it actually trying to. For example, it wants to eliminate the systems of capitalist system in which free market and all that, and privatization. So there is no privatization. There's only a community in which he will often call it communism. And he also wants to have a classless society, because according to Marx, he divided people into two groups: the bourgeoisie, the bourgeoisie, it is the one who holds power, who has the resources to control, and the proletariat means that it is the working class, basically those who don't have power or have less power than the bourgeoisie, but they're usually the ones who are being ruled by the bourgeoisie. And like I previously mentioned, he also wants to have a collective ownership. So there is no individualization, so there's no individual ownership. So that basically means that your house could be owned by someone else, and you must do it, because if it's not, then you are a part of bourgeoisie. Well, in that simple terms. However, as a literary theory, Marxism is trying to reveal the hidden battles of ideology, as I previously mentioned, because literature is often than not trying to challenge the social and economic structure. So, and this is actually in line with Marxist theory that class conflicts and struggles are necessary to, in order to produce an improvement in social conditions, which is why he often did not in the end of that struggles, he provide an idea of revolution, so that the change is in the end became success. And to understand Marxism, we need to understand the basic concept of Marxism itself, which is the base and superstructure. Basically, what is base and superstructure in a sense? So basically, base is the process of economic production and its form that builds society, according to Eagleton. So basically, base are the skills and modes of distribution, the technological advancement, the tool for production, or basically anything that has to do with production. Because Marx argues that base have more effects on social than than other aspects of life, like law, literature, and ideology, because base can often not shape how people think and how people act. And then the superstructure. Basically, the superstructure is everything that has nothing to do with the base, or what Marx would call the social consciousness. So this is the law, art, literature, and religion. Those things he considered as superstructure because it is affected by the base, the modes of production, and it is sometimes such superstructures sometimes affecting the base, but more often than not, the base will be will be affecting the superstructure. So the relationship between these two is always upward. So the base will be affecting the superstructure, and then the relationship between these two is what Marx called historical materialism, in which he says that the effects of material production and distribution in society, and in this context, literature. So to explain this, to explain this, we need to give you some examples. For example, the internet. Because of the internet, we have right now content creators, we have memes, we have cancel culture, and those things exist after the fact that internet was introduced. So basically means that to understand base and superstructure context, the internet itself is the base, while the other things like content creator, memes, and cancel culture, and sometimes influencers is actually the superstructure. So if we change the base, it also changes the superstructure. For example, in the early 19th centuries during the French revolutions, because of the tyranny of the King Louis the 16th, because of his tyranny, the citizens of French Empire at that time revolts the king, and hence there is the revolution. And because of the revolution, France decided to use some sort of democratic system in which to hold power equally and to prevent any kind of tyranny in their country again. So basically what happens is that when the system is changed, the other aspects of life will follow it. And that's the basic concept of Marx, which is power relation between these two. And in the next section we will talk about the evolutions of Marxist theory in literature and how does it apply to a literary work. So we will provide you an analysis of work in Marxist view. Thank you so much.
Now we're going to move to theories that we can use in Marxism literary approach and its evolution throughout the years. First, we have classical Marxism by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. And here we have base and superstructure. They have been explained before in the previous page, so I'm just going to give a quick example. Example here is like a small country that their main resource is coal or coal mine. So it would not be a coincidence that they're going to put coals or coal mines here in their educational system because they want to keep this business going to future generations. And then in here we have alienation. Alienation is what happens when the worker is separated from their work. A quick example is a shoemaker. Shoemaker makes shoes, especially in a factory, but they don't own it. And when people want to appreciate the shoes, they're going to give the credits to the owner of the factory and not the workers. So the worker is going to feel completely cut off from their work. They're going to feel not appreciated anymore. And then next we have Leninism. This is basically extreme Marxism by Vladimir Lenin. We have reflectionism here. In reflectionism, literary work must reflect the writer's class. This is like a rule that is set by Lenin. So when the literature doesn't reflect the writer's class, they're going to be banned or even the writers could be arrested. And we have socialist realism in here. Literary must show typical workers, and they have to show that socialism is working here, or the good side of socialism. This is some type of propaganda, but it used by using literary works. And then we have heroic worker. Heroic worker here is where a story needs a perfect socialist worker as the main character, because they want to show that socialism is working. So they're going to, you need to put socialist worker here as the main character. This is like a or like propaganda. Next we have Western Marxism by a famous figure like Antonio Gramsci and Althusser. In here we have over-determination. It's when art and history is caused by many different factors, not just one simple cause like money, for example. This is critics for capitalism, where the main point is just to make profit. And then we have relative autonomy, where art is influenced by the economy, by money, for example, but it's not limited by it, it's not controlled by it. Sure, people are working to get money, but this is not just the main selling point. Next, we have famous theory, hegemony. This is where one group controls everyone else, but this everyone else doesn't really, realize that they're being controlled, and they think it's normal. An example here would be English as international language. So the other country that is not, English, they're going to force to speak English or learn English in order to talk with international people. And then we have an example of literary work analyzed using Marxism approach in literature. We have a poem by W.B. Yeats, The Song of the Old Mother. Basically, this poem talks about how the grandma is alienated from her work because she's not appreciated by the youngs. This grandma here is working hard. She's waking up early, she cleans the house, she cooks, she keeps the fireplace going, but she's not appreciated by the young, so she feel like alienated from her work. That is all from our presentation. Thank you for staying with us.